It is so good to be with you. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I've got some slides, um, and I'm excited about having this time with you to be able to talk about and share updates. And honestly, it warms my heart to see so many people here today for this quarterly Boulder Way Forward Forum. And one of our UWLP goals for this year is to continue to ensure that all the work that we do, that you do, that within this space of Boulder Way Forward and the Utah Women in Leadership Project, that it elevates the guiding principles of civility, of dignity, kindness, connection, and respect. Those are the words that we're using. And so for today, we've opened the chat for you to make comments, not just to us as panelists, but comments so that other people can see those comments. We've got some interaction. And so we just asked that you do this in the way that I've just described so that we can really continue to elevate the work which is needed today more than any time before of civility, of dignity, of kindness, of connection, and of respect. So thank you for joining. Now, we have a variety of people here today. We have people that have been spoke leaders that are now spoke advisors. We have belonging advisors. We have male allyship leaders. We have county coalition leaders and county, even if they don't have a formal coalition, people from counties all over the state joining today. And we also have invited the public. So there will be people on this in this meeting, in this webinar today, that may be new to a Boulder Way Forward, and folks that maybe have been involved and haven't been back for a bit. And so I wanted to start, and this may be will be a review for some of you, but to start with really reviewing just briefly a few pieces that I think will help us all be on the same page as we move forward. And so the first one really is about the Utah Women in Leadership Project. If you're not familiar, our mission is to strengthen the impact of Utah girls and women, and we do that in three ways. One, producing relevant, trustworthy, applicable research. Two, creating and gathering valuable resources. And three, convening trainings and events like this that inform, inspire, and ignite growth and change for all Utahns. And then with the Boulder Way Forward, a Boulder Way Forward is the primary initiative of the UWLP at Utah State University. And UWLP serves as the backbone organization of a Boulder Way Forward. And of course, most of you know the aim is to help more Utah girls, women, and families. That's an important piece as well, thrive. And what does thriving mean? So Utah women and girls thrive when their safety, their security, their health, their overall well being are supported, enabling them to explore and pursue education, professional, civic, leadership opportunities aligned with their interests, and to experience a strong support system and a deep sense of belonging along the way. I know that's a loaded sentence, but don't you love that? I do love that statement. And so also, and it's funny because my name's on there, but just as a reminder, this project is led by me as a faculty, and that relates to my own personal research and societal impact work. And we have shifted and are now fully in Utah State University Extension, and the institution as a whole is a 501c3. This is not going to be new to most of you. So, just a quick overview of Boulder Way Forward for those of you that are new. We use the metaphor of a wheel, and the Boulder Way Forward is a system and a vehicle of change. And we have this hill. So, moving up a hill, the work of Boulder Way Forward is to be a vehicle of change for Utah girls and women. And as you know, and it continues. The work and the road is uphill. There are currently lots of potholes. Many individuals, groups, organizations provide programs and efforts and initiatives that help the road be smoother. But Boulder Way Forward is one of the first efforts in most of these areas to really pull things together as a system. And as most of you know, there are 18 spokes within 5 key broader areas, and you can see that on the slide. And each spoke is a topic or area where change needs to occur. And then, of course, we work on the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And so we need effort in each area to make progress. And as things relate and progress is made in one spoke, it tends to help make progress in other spokes as well. And although it's not illustrated on the rim, we envision belonging and allyship integrated across the movement and within specific communities like 50 plus thriving and disabilities and interfaith, LGBTQ, race, ethnicity, and then, of course, male allyship. And so we keep that top of mind. And so we encourage community leaders and residents to work really from the middle to help coordinate efforts, whether it's in your town or your city or your county or a company or wherever it might be in the state. And so critical are the grassroots in societal change efforts. We'll talk about that. Deborah's here, who coordinates so many of the counties in that. So we'll give a few updates there. And we really encourage collectives of individuals and organizations at the local level and all levels to be connected through networks. And then leaders throughout the state can, among other elements, continue like our team to share research and resources and provide the vision of systems thinking. We can do that all through the movement. And so that's a little review there in terms of what's happening. So I want to shift forward. And so that continues to be that the core pieces of the Boulder Way Forward are within spokes, even though many of the spokes have advisors instead of leaders now. The work will continue. There's goals. There's lots happening still within the spokes through counties and through other ways. We have the belonging team and the male allyship team. And then, especially with our restructure, there are still so many amazing things at the county level through coalitions and groups of people and sometimes individuals doing work within each county. And then just a reminder again, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts is our theme, that's systems thinking. And then partnerships and connections are just so critical. Just really bluntly, too, since January, and we really started in the fall, we as a team at UWLP have gone through a major restructure, and we look at it as like a crazy rose bush. That here, let me come out of my slides for just a minute so I can see you too and be more expressive for everybody that's listening. So we've used the metaphor of a rose bush, and I think we got that idea from one of the regional coordinators, and it did exactly what we were hoping for the first 2.5, 3 years. That it was like 7,000 people engaged from all over the state and every county. People engaged this rose bush that it kind of went wacko. Wacko's not a good word to use on this. I'll take that back. Crazy. I don't know if that's a good word either. Anyway, we've really been quieter the last few months as we've been trimming down the rose bush. We were not able to maintain with the support that's been out there what we were doing, but we're actually really energized by the trimming back and then relaunching pieces that'll come as well. So we've been working really hard to do that. And so we've been a little quiet, but we have been reimagining our website and doing totally reworked and partnerships and outreach and more so we can actually be more effective. A few more slides in the beginning here. Um, so I want you to think because I'm going to put up a poll question. Hopefully, I can find where the polls are. You know how your Zoom changes every once in a while. So I've got those designed and I'll find those. But be thinking about what you're going to identify yourself as. So today's attendees could be involved in the spokes. So you spoke advisor, sub-spoke leader, an advocate that's working in areas in a spoke, or a team belonging to advisors, male allyship team advisors, leaders, or the male ally army. That's still moving. Local level could be regional coordinators or county coalition leaders or community members. Backbone organization, our team, and the people working with us, and then others, uh, community partners and our UWLP champions, investors, community members, and advocates. We're using that word advocates a lot of places because if you're getting informed, staying up, even have a little conversation with your child or something around any of these topics, you are an advocate. That's what, so we need to really own that. So I'm hoping to find my poll. Here we go. All right, I have two questions in this poll. The first one is, how are you connected with Boulder Way Forward? Think about that slide I just shared. And I changed that this morning to be multiple choice. So if you are two of those, you can put two. The second one, you just have one choice, and that is, what Boulder Way Forward region are you joining us from? So, and we have 7 regions, and you'll be able to see which counties go within each. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that, and you can jump in and start answering. Not seeing anybody answer yet. Oh, there you go. Things are happening now. All right. We're getting to about half of you have answered. I hope you, oh, this is really interesting where you're joining from or what area you're choosing. Um, Love it. Looks like the local level's a little bit ahead of everybody else and the others next. I love that we have community partners and people involved in our teams, which that's where the belonging teams come in, and also the community partners. Um, yeah, there we go. And then I'm looking, we've got a lot of people. We've got people from every single, it looks like every single region. There's some representation there as well. Be 30 seconds. It looks like there's a few other people. I know there's some questions in the chat. Deborah and Bree are going to be checking the chat there, and I'll end in just a second. It looks like most of you are responding. It looks like there's another 16 people if you can figure out how to get that if you're joining from your phone. But don't worry about it if you're driving. All right. All right. I'm going to end the poll. And here I'm going to share the results. All right. Can you see that? Can you see the results? Good. All right. So it looks like, yeah, the local level, we have the most people from the local level. That doesn't surprise me. Quite a few from who are doing spoke work and a mix of folks there as well. And in terms of the counties, it looks like this is not a surprise because we have most of the population in the Wasatch Front South, which includes Utah County and Salt Lake County. But we've got folks from all over. Just one person from the 6 counties, which is Juab. Welcome, welcome, whoever it is. Juab, Millard, Paiute, Sam Pete, Sevier, and Wayne. So thank you for participating in that. I'm going to stop sharing there. Um, Great to see where you're at. um, there. Just a couple of slides, and we're going to be have some other interaction. And so some of the purpose. So we're going to do these quarterly forums really starting today, and should be a meaningful opportunity to stay connected to the whole, get inspired, leave with clear ways to deepen your impact, and forms will ensure that everyone is engaged in any way that they get the same information. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and we want to share progress and highlight wins, communicate new resources, convey shifts, offer insights, and provide motivation, and be a space to address questions. So we'll be looking at questions. We'll have time for questions that have emerged during the quarter. And there's probably a lot of questions, but hopefully we'll address some of those as well. Um, and so in November, this is another interactive thing I'm going to do. So in November, we did this activity. So most of you, well, some of you might remember it, but it is, and I'm going to have you think about your why too. My question is, I've had people, and I talk about this often, what is my why? Why am I doing this work? And in just a second, I'll ask Bree and Deborah to jump in and share their whys as well. And for me, you've heard me, many of you speak already. Um, I believe that we can and must do better for our children, for our families, for us as women. And I feel, why do I do this work? I feel called to do the work. I continuously do research and read research that tells us things are amiss in various ways here in Utah. And my head, heart, and hands want to engage in this work, and they still do, even amidst some challenges, quite a few challenges that I personally have had and we have had as a team. So that really is my why, and I'm going to leave that at that. But can you, I'm going to have Bree jump in first, and then Deborah. I want you briefly to share your why as well. But for those of you joining in, I've opened up, that's one of the reasons we opened up the chat as well. I would love to have you do it and other people can see what is your why? What is your why? Even in just a sentence. So Bree, love to turn it over to you.
Yeah, this work is deeply personal to me. I come from a family of all girls. And over the last 20 years, we've all relocated from California to Utah and noticed the shifts in culture, expectations, and opportunities for women here. And we can do better, just as you've said, Susan. Seeing those contrasts has strengthened my commitment to really building systems and connections that can have greater impact and more equitable outcomes for the future generations. And being in service of women and communities is both personally and professionally rewarding and meaningful to me. So I'm grateful for this to be part of this.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And I don't see, oh, one person did. I don't see too many sharing. If you feel comfortable, please. Oh, there we go. There we go. We have some people starting to share now. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, I'm someone who's very driven by purpose and by wanting to have an impact. And in my own life, I've engaged in many of the different focus areas from helping with women's being elected to political office to, the initiative where we recognized companies that championed women to being myself having a master's degree, but in teaching English as a second language. So caring about minorities and higher education, but also just very driven also by, I guess, right and wrong, so that safety and security matters. So that for me, having a purpose, a place where I can have an impact is really crucial. And that's what motivates me.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate both of your thoughts and just a big shout out to these two plus our other team members. How meaningful. We have a whole team of people that are passionate and have whys just like this. So I love that. Thank you to everybody for continuing to share their comments in the chat as well. So that's the end of our first big chunk. Now we have some smaller chunks, but I want to head on address what we know about our funding issues. And I know some of you are joining because you know what has happened. Now, what I thought would be the best thing to do, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read pieces of an editorial that I wrote for the Salt Lake Tribune that explained some of what happened with our funding. And if you haven't heard that, this might be new to you, but I think most people have heard. So I'm going to actually read part of my editorial. On the final day of Utah's legislative session, without warning, debate, or transparency, most of the ongoing funding for the Utah Women in Leadership Project was quietly stripped and redirected elsewhere. After 17 years of building the state's only research entity dedicated solely to understanding the lives, needs, challenges, and opportunities of Utah women and girls, I learned of this decision not from lawmakers, but from Utah State University leaders who themselves had been blindsided. This is not just a budget adjustment. It's an existential threat to the work that tens of thousands of Utahns rely on. The $650,000 cut tucked into a 4,762 line budget bill eliminates funding for four of my five full-time staff members, several part-time staff, and more. These are the people who research, develop, and share the resources that reach decision makers in nonprofits, schools, universities, businesses, government, and households across the state. They help coordinate a bolder way forward, a statewide initiative involving more than 7,000, you know this, 7,000 Utahns across all 29 counties with more than 400 partner organizations. They help us track violence rates, workplace barriers, civic participation, and the economic realities facing Utah women and families. And this is, I continue, this is what I said in the editorial. One professor cannot replace an entire research and community impact team. One university can't simply absorb the sudden loss of nearly all ongoing funding for a statewide initiative of this scale. So this is also the second year in a row that the legislature has taken last minute action to dismantle or defund the work focused on women. Last year, lawmakers repealed the Women in the Economy Commission on the final day of the session after assuring Utahns that the work would continue through organizations like UWLP. And now, again, on the last day, funding for the state's primary research hub on girls and women has been stripped with no public discussion or explanation. Our work is not abstract. It's about reducing violence against women and children. It's about narrowing gender gaps in education, wages, and leadership. It's about strengthening families and communities and the state's economic future. So when funding is stripped from this work, the systems ripple outward to survivors who need better systems, to employers who need better data, to policymakers who need evidence-based insights, and to families who deserve a Utah where women and girls can thrive. What troubles me most is not only the cut itself, but the way it was done. A decision that affects tens of thousands of Utahns was made quietly with no public debate. Most legislators I've spoken to when I published this, but also since, had no idea that it was happening. And again, Utah State University leadership was caught off guard. There was no hearing, no discussion, no opportunities for Utahns to weigh in. This is not how a healthy democracy functions. And again, this is my editorial, my words, my facts and opinions. Transparency is not optional. Accountability is not optional. Public trust is not optional. And yet, despite this shock, I remain anchored in hope. I have seen too many Utahns, women and men, rural and urban, conservative and progressive, work together in good faith to build a better future. I have seen what happens when people unite around shared values, safety, opportunity, dignity, and the belief that every girl and woman deserves the chance to thrive. Utah can be a place where families flourish. Utah can be a place where women are not an afterthought. Utah can be a place where decisions are made in the light, not in the shadows. But we cannot get there by stepping backward. I still believe that most people are good. I still believe Utah can change, and I still love this state enough to fight for it. But love requires truth, and the truth is this. Utah cannot claim to support families while repeatedly undermining the way the work, um, undermining the very work that helps women and girls thrive. We deserve better, and we will keep working together to build it. So that is my editorial, and it's my belief, again, my own words, not representing other people, but it's more than opinions because we have data on everything. I mean, not every single thing, but we have a lot of data, right? On as much as we can. And it's so, so important to move forward. And so before I share a couple more words, Bree, I would love to have you and I'm not holding back some of my feelings here. I didn't in the editorial. I believe in truth. And I would love to have Bree, why don't you take over and take a minute and share? Oh, let me hold on just a second. Let me just share this slide. What we're going to do is have you participate in a word cloud. And here's the question in one or two words, what emotions arise when progress for Utah girls and women is stalled or undermined? Bree.
Yep. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see the screen that has a QR code. You can also just go to menti.com and enter these numbers here. Looks like we're getting some responses in. And I'm going to see why they're not showing. Oh, there they go.
Oh, they're starting. Thank you, Bree.
Mhm.
These are always interesting to watch, aren't they? Wow, the frustrated and disappointed are, oh, and fear are at least right now the bigger ones. Um,
Oh, discouraged. I don't like seeing that get bigger. That's the hard one.
yeah, yeah. Any thoughts, Deborah, as we're moving forward? It's
Mm.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, these are very real feelings, I think is what we all felt when we heard about the shift in the funding.
Yeah. Maybe give it another 1 minute, maybe. I know some folks are putting some thoughts in the chat too.
Yeah, if for some reason you can't access this, if you're on a phone or something and it's not working, you can go ahead and put your feeling in the chat.
Well, I think things are settling down. We have comments from words from about half of you, and um, oh, I don't like it, but I saw now I've lost it. One that said something not surprising or something.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
overlooked, concerned. Thank you for sharing. All right. Oh, I like that. There's a comment determined. I know these kinds of feelings, especially when you're feeling it can be, and that's why in my editorial I ended the way that I did, because no matter what happens, we if we love our granddaughters, our daughters, our neighbors, we can't give up. We have to lean in even more than we have. And that's what we're trying to do with our team. One thing that I appreciate is that Utah State University leadership is working on bridge funding for the next year so that we can keep our team together, and then hopefully there'll be some paths towards some ongoing funding after that. So I'm really appreciative of our President Brad Mortensen, and any of you that are at Weber lost him to us, but we'll take him and appreciate his support and that of the team. So thank you so much, Bree, for putting that together, and for each of you to participate as well. So now what we want to do, and we'll go pretty quick on this, and Bree and Deborah, if you're seeing questions that relate to any of this, please just pop in and so forth. But we're going to share one of our goals is really to share some of the resources that are helpful, and so we're going to walk through. Get my screen up. There we go. We're going to walk through some of the things that are really important for you to know about. We have been hard at work, really hard at work on our team, revising a lot. I think every web page has had revisions, and some have had overhauls and so forth. And so I'm sharing my screen, and I'll start with, first of all, on this first one, you'll notice changes. You can see this is where we have partners and committees and various kinds of things. And many of you, if not all of you, have looked into the various kinds of research. I don't want to take time here. This is where we've done changes throughout this as well, but we've done a lot of changes on this one, and this one especially. So want to make sure that all of you know that we have these resources, including a whole page, by the way, of links to resources in Spanish, actually. And we're going to expand that as well. But this is the one I really wanted to get to. Oh, before I do, make sure we keep this updated on all the women's groups throughout the state and videos as well. But this one I'm super excited about. We have taken uh, things from all of our research and resources and various things from partners, and we've eliminated a lot of our pages and put things in one spot called a resource library. And each one of these 25 topics are called resource kits now. And so you'll see we have 25 topics. So 18 are specific to the spokes, although there's a few like education that has K through 12 and higher ed. And then we have some additional information. So there's a few that don't say exactly the word for word, but you'll know. We've some of them do. Let me open up. Let's do gender pay gap, and you can see this is such a gift, I think, to counties, to anybody, to businesses, to our legislature, to others. So we here include all kinds of resources and research reports and podcasts from UWLP, our articles and so forth related. And on top of that, we go into research at the community and lots of resources. Here's more resources. So not just UWLP, but other resources as well. You can see resources, movies, partner organizations that are engaged in the work. And so some of these are long, some of them are shorter, but we're excited to have that. Well, let me show you one more. This is one that was integrated within the different spoke. But if you are working in or have daughters, young women in your lives, which all of us do, you can see we have online courses and various videos. This one's longer, as you can see, articles and so forth, and then community resources as well. So we are trying to find the best high quality resources so that you can, as a business, as a family, as an individual, as a congregation, can go to and find this resource library. So excited about that. Bree, I would love to have you now. You click on the Boulder Way Forward, and every single page has been reworked. And I would love to have you talk about the spokes and what's been happening uh, at the spoke level on each of the pages.
Yeah. Do you want to just open one and I can kind of walk through them from there?
Sure, sure. Well, let's do entrepreneurship. So,
Great.
okay.
So as you can see, we've kind of refreshed the look of the page a little bit so that things are clearer, more upfront and easier to connect with. We've updated this intro paragraph on each spoke to really give a quick look at the what and the why this matters. And then we've put some of those key resources from the resource library front and center there, so that people can see and access those quickly. So instead of having them on the side, we've got them listed right there. If you'll scroll down a little bit, our spoke advisors, I'll just jump there. The work is continuing, not only through our partner organizations and through the county coalitions, but also in the work that our amazing spoke advisors are doing, both professionally and personally. And so we've listed our spoke advisors. We'd love to see those lists grow. If you are an expert in any of these 18 areas, feel free to reach out if you're interested in discussing that. And then as far as goals, we've really just kind of cleaned them up. The same goals exist for Utah to improve things in these ways, but we've really just updated that language so it's very clear and direct. Increase the number of Utah women-owned businesses. And when you get to the dashboard, there will be additional information that gives you the details of what exactly needs to happen. But we're hoping that this gives a clear, quick picture. Our what you can do's, our calls to action, we've refined those a little bit, updating them as we have moved forward over the last 2 years since we started gathering those. And then a really cool piece is our community partners. So partners that are aligned in doing the work of the spoke. We've highlighted them here to kind of say, this is why, we've listed them, and you can click on the logo to go directly to their page. Yeah. So we're hopeful that this is going to be a good shift for everyone to access what's needed in a clear and quick way.
Thank you so much, Bree. And then Bree and I have worked a lot on our belonging teams. There's a direct link over there, and all of them are actually on one page. And you can see 50 plus, disabilities, interfaith, LGBTQ, race, and ethnicity. And as you can see, we haven't had space yet. We've been working hard on this to reach out and invite some others who are experts to join being advisors. And advisors really means when there's things that you're seeing sent to us, we'll, if we're doing a report that's in that space, we'll ask you to be a reviewer, ask you for comments, no regular meetings or whatever, unless you choose to. I think there's a couple of belonging teams that do that, and you can see some resources. And then Bree, can you talk real quick about the male allyship? They're still moving.
Yeah, they are. And so we have Richard, Colleen, and Chris who are building a male ally army. We need more men, as you all know, to not only support and advocate, but to be involved in our efforts to help women, girls, and families in Utah. And so that starts with understanding and getting involved. And so we on the resource page, we've got lots of things, but as you can see in this intro paragraph, you can send an email or complete a quick form to have Colleen or Richard contact you.
Great. And under events, we have upcoming events, past events, but Bree has worked really hard to update how we're doing our community calendar. If you didn't know, we every month go to all the 180 women's groups and put all the women specific things on this calendar. So this is a real gold mine if you go to that and if you didn't know about it. Back to Boulder Way Forward. Deborah, love to have you talk about the counties, and wow, you and Amy specifically, you kind of oversee the 20. Amy Anderson, who's a great member of our team, 9, and just finished refreshing every single page. Tell us a little bit more, Deborah.
Yeah, if you want to just click on one of the pages, Susan, we can look through it. And it has a similar look and feel with the spoke pages, where at the top we have the description, and then we have standard buttons going across. The county survey data is going to be available soon to be able to show what the results were from the fall survey. We have the county think tank. Most of the counties have social media, and then just links to the spoke resources and take action. And then you can see for each county who the leaders are in those counties, and then are excited that along the side we have resource boxes where you can see
A new one. Oh,
specific,
there we go.
yeah, where you can see specific resources related to each county. If you want to be able to find health rankings or some economic data or information from the US Census, that's there. And then just ways to get involved, who to contact and who to reach out to. I appreciated in the comments that many people said as a result of the funding being taken away and these negative things, that instead of feeling discouraged, they feel motivated, because the counties really are an opportunity to be able to get involved, to be able to make a difference. It makes me think of, after Pearl Harbor, World War II, a sleeping dragon was awoken, and that actually many people are rising up to fill a void now, and the counties are a great way to do that. And then we also, along with this, have formed 7 regions, because just as How Change Happens talks about how grassroots is gold, the book by Leslie Crutchfield, are the basis for our movement. The counties and the regions are more important than ever. And we hope that you'll feel empowered to get involved and raise up. And Susan, if you want to go back to the page and show the region button, you can see how the counties are divided. We have 7 different regions. We tried to follow existing organizations where they share many resources, with the idea being that they'll be strengthened by working closer together and using the systems approach. And we are investing in part-time regional coordinators to strengthen those regions and to help. And because it's grassroots, the counties are taking different approaches. Some of them are aligning with existing coalitions. Some of them are coming together more and focus and functioning more as a regional coalition, but it really truly is grassroots. And so I encourage you to look at these pages, but also just look at, if you want to have an impact, if you're inspired to make a difference, how can you help locally?
I love that. Thank you, Deborah, so much for your words and for your work. And one of the things in here as well are our metrics. Bree, you've been living in this space for a couple years, these metrics. And I know we talk about those a lot, but guide us through a little bit more here.
Yeah, so the metrics page is where you can explore the data behind each spoke through our interactive dashboards. This is where we share key indicators of progress and outcomes across these focus areas in a way that's hopefully accessible and transparent. There are 2 dashboards for each spoke. One is the perceptions, which is our fall survey dashboards, and those are nearly complete with the 2025 updates. On those, you'll see new filters that allow for deeper exploration of the data, along with an updated color scheme that hopefully is a little easier to identify the shifts.
That
And
was one not done yet.
that's one that's not done yet. we went by category, so you can hopefully there you should be one there. Yes.
My internet's being a little bit weird right now, so
And these
we'll
are
get there.
hefty
There we
dashboards,
go.
but there you go. So you'll see you can filter even by region now. So if your county's not listed, it's, we might have had a sample that was too small, but you can look by region. We've got gender, education, a bunch of other filters. And then you can see down at the bottom how our progress is shifting towards that 2030 goal for those statistical means. And then every spoke has, and most are being updated right now, a dashboard that reflects those bold goals for Utah. And so we are hard at work still on updating those with the most recent data and metrics. And there's, a lot of shifts happening with national data sources right now. So we're working to identify some some metrics that we may need to find. But these dashboards are here, and if you have any questions about those, you can always just send me a quick note.
Great. Thank you so much to both of you. And there's other things on the website too, but just know that we've really been working hard. We've been a little quieter and working really hard to make sure that we have a fresh look and feel, and that they will be easy for people to navigate. So this is a linked tree that has other things as well. And then take action. So Bree, I'm going to keep sharing this slide, but just mention what's happening on this page as well.
Yes. So the calls to action that we previously had on the What Utahns Need to Know that are on each page, those are really for individuals. And as those of you involved know, over the last 4 months or so of 2025, we really worked to develop some calls to action for groups, communities, organizations, entities, steps that people can take to really make a difference and move the needle. So we have these goals, but how are we going to do them? You can help by following what's outlined here on this Take Action page. So under each of the topics or spoke categories, you can expand those, and it will list for each of those spokes. On the left, individual calls to action, things that you can do on your own. And on the right, recommended calls to action for you to initiate within a group, within your community, within your home even. So lots of very specific ways that you can help, and hopefully with all of the resources you would need to complete that.
Yeah, and some of the ones for groups and communities are ones that the counties have helped with and are taking hold of, and really, even though it's their choice what they want to work with, they've got some help from us here, but also these came to us from experts and the spoke advisors and other people as well. And in terms of we do want in our quarterly uh, meetings like this, we will be, and we're starting to get some more bandwidth. We're almost done with our long lists of things we're resetting the foundation for. We'll be collecting short-term, long-term wins from the Boulder Way Forward community, but also community partners and advocates across the state. And we want to hear wins anytime from on efforts in each of the 18 spoke areas and beyond that are helping girls, women, and families thrive. And so we hope this tracking will help all of us identify and share outcomes, and we can share with others, right, a milestone, signs of impact and change. And there are change. I mean, there is change happening, right? We're hearing these stories. We're getting a good system together to capture those in better ways so that we can share those. And so I know there's been a few questions in the chat, and the three of us are going to answer any questions. So you too, I haven't been over to the chat. So I'm hoping that you can feed us some questions.
Yeah, we've answered several, and I just want to acknowledge that many comments of support and appreciation for this work have been coming in throughout the presentation.
That warms my heart. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too, is most people being grateful for the resource page, for the Spanish resources, for what's happening in the regions. But then there is a question, how can we potentially help with funding? Does Boulder Way Forward accept donations? So this is a great segue, Susan.
Thank you. And we've had a few people step up, and since we've had gotten this news, and I'll tell you, every bit helps, whether it's small, whether it's a 500, whether it's bigger, whatever people can give. We use our funding very carefully. And so, yeah, there is and Deborah, if you can find the donation page and put it in the chat, we'll take those. I'm not sure what the route of USU's, if we're thinking of going back the next session for another legislative request, but if so, and even if we don't know for sure for a while, good connections with legislators to make sure they know about the Utah Women in Leadership Project, and business owners and those things, and sharing what the resources are. I think it's going to be helpful as well. Bree, any other thoughts in that space? I know we've put together some grants. If you're connected to a granting organization, those are hard. We've been turned down a lot for grants, but we've had some, and the ones where we have personal connections are the ones that we're getting. And so if you're connected personally to a granting organization, whether it's a family foundation or something, just help us reach out, help us make good connections to those so they can see of the impact and how much you all are interested in this mission as well. Anything else, Bree, from or
On donations and support.
yeah, that or
Yeah.
other questions?
Um, just I see a couple questions that are asking like how can we connect and kind of have a deeper discussion with someone on the UWLP team. You can find our information on the website.
Yep.
I'm happy to put mine in the chat too, but if you go to our team, you can kind of see who to contact for
Yeah.
connection on certain things.
We've kind of been, even though we're out there doing things, we're kind of gone quieter a little bit in the last few months because we have been feeling like we wanted to reset the foundation, and all the work you're seeing is hundreds of hours of work. And so we really feel like by the end of April, we'll have our foundation laid again, and I'm starting to accept some speaking invitations again. I've kind of blocked out my schedule for all the revisions and so forth, and I think the teams as well. So we'll have some more bandwidth really in weeks ahead, and want to start connecting with partners and building up partners again and so forth. Any comments, Deborah, Bree?
No, it's just wonderful to see so many people who want to help this work keep moving forward. And we hope that you do feel inspired today and want to become more informed and to help share us and help spread this important initiative.
Oh, I like these ideas. We'll save the chat, and for those of you that have attended, signed up to come and so forth, we'll send an email out as a follow-up, and may highlight some of the ideas that come out of this chat. Yeah, Bree.
A question that we've kind of answered before, but we're still unclear, and maybe you can provide a little more here. Will there be a Boulder Way Forward Summit this summer?
Oh, that's a tough one. Even before the funding was taken, Zion's is just not able, and we don't have a lot of extra funding to begin with to get a big hotel and any of that. So Zion's had to pare down the number of people that can be in one space, and so we're still wrestling with that, and we'll know. We've got a few options about something we would do, not at the typical summit, but we're going to slide a 2 hour online summit where there's some interaction in the fall. And we may have something going on, I believe, isn't it the 6th? Something going, but not the regular summit, maybe a professional development, some different things. That will be emerging. We'll be making decisions about that in the next week, 2 weeks at the most, and we'll be letting you know what's happening there. So it's time to wrap up. I've got a couple of things just to wrap us up. Oh my gosh, I love the people whose names I'm seeing in the chat, and such. This lifts me and it lifts us because we know without a doubt that this work must continue. And that work will not continue just with me, just with my staff, but it has to continue with all of you and more as we grow. We have to get messages to everybody, have this continue to grow in a way that we can maintain that. Let me share my screen as I conclude here with just a couple of quick quotes. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad so many of you were able to join today. This is a weird slide because I'm quoting myself, but people are like going to judge me on that. But what the heck? I am getting older and I don't care as much anymore on what people say or judge me. But I think this was in an article that an editorial. The bottom line is this: we owe women and girls more than quiet concern. We owe them action. That means speaking honestly, challenging harmful norms, and insisting our systems protect those they were built to serve. Utah can do better, but only if we decide that silence is no longer an option. And then I've used this in past years. This is not the one I usually use, the Martin Luther King, but I'll use this as I wrap this up. This is one that I just love, and I have the source on the bottom of the next slide. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid, who will try to hold on to the shore. They are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination, and the elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, and keep our heads above water. And I say, see who is there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment we do, our spiritual growth and journey come to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from your attitude and vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration, for we are the ones we've been waiting for. I love this. I get teary-eyed every flipping time, and I've been using this for like 10 years. It is. We are the ones, and we need to find more people who want to come in, use their voice, and lead. And I don't think we have a choice if we care, like I said earlier, if we care about women in our lives. And we've got to bring in more men, male allies to this work. That is just so critical. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thank you for wanting to use your head, what's interesting, your heart, how you feel, and your hands to actually do the work, whether that's just mentioning things, statistics, things to your neighbor or your coworker, or just deciding to be more caught up on what the literature is saying, or stepping forward in your own counties, right? In the counties, in your neighborhoods, in your cities. We're still having the Boulder Way Forward towns, cities, and counties. And so we need to continue to build that up as well. Thank you to everybody for your engagement today and for believing in this work and wanting to see more girls, women, and their families thrive. Thank you.